we are starting to tune in more so now to Hurricane Milton. That is, one moment here, is I've got several looking at several different views and stuff right now of the Hurricane Milton and where it's at, where it's headed to. It has been downgraded from a Category 5 to a Category 3, and right now the landfall is expected to be on the southern side of Tampa, not too far south of Tampa though, so we are wanting to see, try to get a better idea. And like I said, it has been downgraded from a Category, wow, how did I manage to get over there? Hang on one second there. It has been downgraded to a Category 3, but the problem is that it's not going to change much when it comes to the situation with it's not going to change a whole lot when it comes to the water surge that's going to come on land. It did dart off north there for just a little bit, but it's now turned back to the east and then gone to northeast there. We have here Channel 8, Florida News, Channel 8. Let's kind of, we'll tune into this one here and see what we can find out as of right now.
From the National Hurricane Center.
Yeah, the National Hurricane Center just did an update.
Bradenton, but really those coastal community audience. It does say a 4 there on the symbol, but it is a 3, correct?
That is correct. That was an older satellite image that where our team is working this as we speak. But the max wind is 120. There's a minimum central pressure 948. That's come up a bit.
If it follows,
motion northeast.
By the way, if it follows the track they're showing right there, going up just south of Tampa, just north of Sarasota, naturally Sarasota is going to be the one that catches that, not only the strongest of the winds, but they will also catch the storm surge. You know, Sarasota brings back the memories of Barry Chamish. That's where he lived at, where he passed away at after having to flee Israel back many years ago. And so that's a very, very serious area there to be living in. I've lived in Orlando, I've lived in Fort Myers, of course, Northwest Florida as well. But let's just move back up now, see where we are now with Channel 8 here. Haven't got all there, let's see. It's Category 3. It's still, I mean, let's face it, it's still, to me, and I've been in some pretty strong hurricanes myself. I actually was in Hurricane Camille when I was just a little guy there, but you know, and Hurricane Camille was probably the strongest hurricane ever to hit the United States of America, with winds going up to, I think it was between 180 to 200 miles per hour. So pretty wild wind speeds at that time there, and it did change and started going east again, but they are expecting it to go northeast at that point. If it stays to the east, though, let me just show you something here, though. Let's say, because what it did is it turned and started going east. If it stayed east and went right into Venice, then again, Fort Myers would be hammered. And Fort Myers, as you guys remember, just a year or so back, got really hammered really hard with a hurricane then. We know that Helene just came up through this area just recently, caused a lot of power outages, things like that. But that would really be a very bad situation for those guys there if it continues to go into that direction. We will probably ourselves cover more so after the fact. Let me just see what all we've got here on. This is Fox 4. Let's see what.
Boy, oh boy. So look at this picking up, guys. This is why you shouldn't be on the roads right now.
This is a great reminder. This vehicle is stuck right in the middle. This is why we told you guys you had to evacuate early this morning. So we have got a very distinct rotation showing up right now on the velocity images. This is passing over the Matt Lachey Bridge. This vantage point is looking from west, looking eastbound towards our studio. So this is going to continue to move over Matt Lachey, and you can see those intense winds really moving that camera around, and it seems to be getting worse as that rotation is moving right over the Matt Lachey Bridge.
Wow.
And by the way, guys, I will tell you another thing too. When you get near the eye wall, oh my gosh, even a small hurricane, let's say I was in one time that had 110 mile an hour winds. When the eye wall came right over my house in northwest Florida there, I was literally, when the winds got near the eye wall and it began to come on shore, I watched big pine trees snap like toothpicks. It was really cool.
Unbelievable.
There was zero visibility at this
just
point.
unbelievable here.
It's getting
Andrew,
worse.
this has got to be it, right?
This is it. Wow. And so talk to me a little bit, you guys. This is Amy joining Trent and Andrew. Talk to me about...
Can we open Amy and Brett's microphone?
Yeah, all mics are on. So, man, those first responders, you see, this isn't even really the thick of it, right? These are just those first few vans, Trent.
This is that first...
I worked with Escambia County Sheriff's Department years ago, and I remember we had a hurricane. I think it was Frederick at the time that came through. And I worked the beach at that time, so we were right on the beach. And in fact, it was kind of fun in a way because the only time we could really just drive fast and didn't really matter because there's nobody on the roads there. So, but it's still, though, it's not, even in your vehicle, it's not always the safest place to be. Those winds can get strong enough just to flip a car.
Main rain band that's moving through, and
How long does something like this typically last for people who are in that area?
I'm skipping it forward,
these storms are racing off to the north. We've seen them as high as 55 miles per hour or as low as 30, and you can already see the view getting a little bit better for the Matt Lachey Bridge. So if that indeed was a waterspout / tornado, we just captured it live as it moved across the Matt Lachey Bridge. Again,
back up again.
It is pulling right over the bridge as we speak, and you can see how intense the winds are in that circulation. Look at this. Look how bad this is right now.
How long does something like this typically last for people who are in that area?
These storms are racing off to the north. We've seen them as high as 55 miles per hour or as low as...
That can be nuts, right? I mean, absolutely nuts. By the way, I'm going to do a special report because of all these crazy hurricanes we're seeing with the winds. How many of you guys remember when I told you about, if you remember going back, a couple of years ago, you're going to see hurricanes, and they're going to have to rename them eventually to hypercanes. Hypercanes. How many guys actually remember me telling you about that? Now, if you recall, when I spoke about those types of hurricanes, and I called them hypercanes, the reason being was because the storm winds are going to get so high that it's going to be higher than average hurricanes as a norm. Now, a lot of the information I've always heard, and I'm going to do a special on Patreon specifically about this, is how the weather, besides volcanoes, earthquakes, and things of that nature, how they shape up here on the earth. I want to take and share with you how these things shape up and work as Planet X gets closer. Let's continue on over here with Channel 8 here.
Again, Wobble Tracker streaming live right now on WFLA.com. The path of the storm, of course, is of paramount importance from this point forward as to whether or not the storm surge is going to be able to rush into Tampa Bay, how much of it is going to be able to rush into Tampa Bay, but the Sarasota beaches, basically the beaches all the way from Anna Maria Island all the way to the Venice beaches are going to be experiencing a significant impact.
I can tell you now, let me just kind of share with you guys. Let's take this back in history real quick. Hurricane Ivan. My family, we're from southern Alabama, but a lot of my family lives in northwest Florida. And if you go back to Hurricane Ivan, and let me go to YouTube and we'll do it there. I don't know if they have footage there during Hurricane Ivan, but we had such a huge wall of water that came into the bay. A friend of mine that I worked intelligence with actually lives right there by the bay. And we have a huge bank, like up to the highway there. He said the water was all the way up to the highway. I would have to say that would mean that the water had to rise some 60 to 80 feet to get that high, right? Hurricane Ivan, 2004. I was living in Israel at the time when it hit. Water surge. There were estimated, I think it was a Category 4 when it hit. Hurricane Ivan, 2000 water surge. Let's see, we'll put that Pensacola, Florida. It wiped out Interstate 10 bridge. They actually, when they rebuilt that bridge, they had to do so. There it is right there. It's Channel 5.
On this date, 10 years ago, the News 5 team brought our viewers wall-to-wall coverage of a storm that affected us all somehow. We all remember the sounds of panic, those pleas for help, as people scurried to escape the fury of a killer storm named Ivan that ravaged our stretch of the Gulf Coast.
Pensacola 911. Yeah, I need to find out if the eye has passed yet. We are up to our waist in water. I just got a call from my sister who is there in Pensacola. They did not get evacuated. She's in a trailer park. Their trailer has just been cut in half. She's screaming. She wants to leave.
The roof is coming in on us. We're going to die in this house if we don't get some help.
The Gulf Coast took a direct hit from the powerful Category 3 storm around 2 in the morning. Ivan made landfall in Gulf Shores as Escambia County, Florida, was hit by the eastern edge of the storm. The most dangerous part of an Atlantic hurricane. With the eastern side came an unprecedented 13-foot storm surge. Aerial footage of the devastation left behind by the hurricane.
You see, if you'll notice in there, they're showing that 18-wheeler, the front part of it missing, was trying to go across the bridge when the surge came through. If I remember right, they never found his body.
Gives the unique perspective of the power of this Category 3 storm. Tonight, we go back in time for a bird's eye view of Ivan the day after the storm hit. Both approaches to the I-10 Escambia Bay Bridge are completely destroyed. The roadbed gone in many parts of the bridge. This video is shaky, but clearly shows the midsection of an 18-wheeler on the bridge. The front end of the big rig fell where the structure broke apart into Escambia Bay. The driver inside the cab plunged to his death. Live Chopper 5 brought you these exclusive images of the Gulf Islands National Seashore south of Pensacola and Gulf Breeze. You see Fort Pickens, its historic barracks, well underwater. In Alabama's Baldwin County, this is what it looked like over Orange Beach. Rows of houses with their roofs peeled apart by Ivan's high winds. Some large condominium buildings collapsed, others leaning from their foundations. Mounds and mounds of sand cover broken chunks of Beach Boulevard. Here you can see a breach where the dark water of Lake Shelby is draining into the Gulf of Mexico. You see sand pushed far inland covering roadways, also standing water where cars are meant to travel. 3 broken pieces of Gulf State Park Pier stand in the water the day after Hurricane Ivan. 10 years later, the largest pier on the Gulf of Mexico stands strong, with even more features than before, including comfort stations in the middle and in...
That takes you back to that time there, Hurricane Ivan in 2004. I had family members trapped on there. Yana herself lived through Hurricane Ivan, terrified that she would not survive the night. It was really, really horrible. I remember her dad, she said her dad said, he just laid on the floor. He said, no problem, it'll be fine. Wasn't fearful at all, but yet the walls creaking and everything else. And Hurricane Camille, I don't know if they have any video of that one there. That was the one as a little boy that I went through myself. I still remember it to this day. In 1969, I was 5 years old at the time. But that storm as well was, I think, considered the most powerful hurricane to ever ever hit the United States of America there. Let me just see what we have here on it.
It's now 6:30 p.m. Sunday in Biloxi, Mississippi, and the hurricane is really beginning to be felt here. As you can see, the palm trees are blowing, the rain is beginning to increase, and the sea is beginning to churn in the Gulf. It promises to be a long, long night in Biloxi.
Even veteran reporter Jim Metcalf had no idea what lay ahead as Hurricane Camille took aim at the Mississippi Gulf Coast. During the nighttime hours of August 17th, 1969, people who lived along the Mississippi Gulf Coast and South Louisiana did the best that they could to get ready for one of the fiercest storms in modern history. As dawn broke on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, the world was stunned at what it saw. Camille's 210-mile-an-hour winds and 20-foot seas caused massive destruction that people have spent decades trying to describe. This scene here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast is almost like an endless nightmare, almost like an endless one-act play with some sort of a macabre ending.
And some of the luxury motel units along the Gulf Coast, it just looked like somebody had come in with a giant hand and swept everything out of sight.
Along the Mississippi Gulf Coast,
we sat there, and the house would keep on crunching and crunching, tearing and ripping, just like you pulled nails out.
Disaster
I remember
areas.
We drove, my grandfather had a four-wheel drive, and so we were able, I don't know if it was a week or two afterwards, but I remember seeing even ships inland, something you just never saw before. We were more to the east of it, but on the stronger side of the winds and things of that nature. My grandmother's house, her roof was ripped completely off. I remember pine needles from the pine trees, like needles stuck, embedded into the trunks of the trees. It was the most horrendous storm I've ever been in my life. And like I said, here I am, 60 years old, and I still remember this storm to this day. As they said in this particular news footage, 210 mile per hour winds. I don't know exactly what the winds were because we were a little further away from the center of the eye of the storm, but I would probably guesstimate around 150, 160, like a Category 5. But that's the type of storms that we're going to be having in the not-so-distant future there. So it's a very, very serious situation. I'm not sure where this this cam is here. It still does not look like super high winds there. It seems to be south. Let's see, Pink Shell Beach Resort, and I'm not sure where Pink Shell Beach is, but it must be much further to the south there. Let's move along with Fox News there and see what's going on with these guys.
Across the Matlacha Bridge, again looking.
We are following breaking news. The WUSA 9 Weather Impact Team is tracking Hurricane Milton. The Category 4 storm is on a collision course with Florida. These satellite images show just how massive Milton is. Landfall is expected in the next 8 to 12 hours, and Florida's Gulf Coast is already feeling its power.
All right, let's move to Channel 8 and see where we are with these guys.
A wobble tracker image that is a massive wobble north, which is, per the cone, absolutely still possible. But barring a massive, push north,
this thing could still end up hitting
counterclockwise
Tampa.
motion will not lead to worst case scenario impacts for Tampa Bay.
It would be very difficult to do that.
Yeah, at this stage, this late.
Yes, because of the circulation that you mentioned. So even if the storm kind of wanders over the bay, what has happened, you have to change the wind direction around to the south and west to push water up into the bay. In order for that to happen, the storm center needs to be either to your west or to your north. And it's going to be difficult for it to gain that type of latitude. So we'll be monitoring it over the next several hours. And again, that cone that you don't see on the screen here does include Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. But even if it did jog a little further to the north, I think that surge would still be southern portions of Pinellas County into northern Manatee County, where we'll be able to monitor it minute by minute with that camera in Bradenton there, overlooking the Manatee River.
All right, so quick programming note. We were talking about this a little bit earlier on. I can confidently look into the camera and say that the stream center is going to be staying online for as long as possible. Basically what I'm saying is that we are not going to be going to the Wesley Chapel backup location that WFLA has set up unless we lose power, unless we have a drastic change of events. So somewhere out there on X or on Twitter, someone's got that Leonardo DiCaprio, GIF. I'm not leaving. Yeah, we're not leaving. We're staying.
There's some
staying
warriors,
here
right?
with you
Definitely some
on the
warriors
stream,
that are staying there
across all platforms.
and
so
watching this.
There we go. There's the Matt
confidently look at
Lachey
camera
Bridge.
now and say that.
Let's
And
see what
we
else
are in
we've
this
got
for
out
the
here,
long
guys.
haul.
Who's
We lose
tracking
power,
this hurricane?
things change.
Here. Well,
We
there
might
we
try
got
to
some
get out,
nice
but right now,
webcams here.
lights are on in the stream center.
And so let
Microphone
me come
hard.
back. We'll come back to Channel 8. Thank you, Channel 8, for covering this storm. EarthCam Live tracking Hurricane Milton. And let's just see if we can blow these up big enough. Sandcay Beach Cam. Wow. Now there you see the storm, the sea actually moving. That's Naples Pier. Now notice how it's dragging that water northwards. Even though the waves are coming in, it's still dragging that water northward. That cam right there, wow, that is quite amazing. Now that's, of course, Naples is way down to the south, way to the south there. Then we got an Inglewood cam, Fort Myers. Now Fort Myers, I used to live in Fort Myers there. I'm trying to see exactly where they're positioning that cam. It's kind of hard to see because it's so far out. But Naples, definitely the ocean being drugged with this storm, pulling that water up. That's really amazing there. So, tell you what, well, it's kind of hard to see if we've got anything else, but I find that fascinating, that particular one there. So let's go back on this one here, because this one here we don't really get a whole lot. Let's just go back. We'll go to Hurricane Milton, and we'll try to see what else is out there on these live footages and stuff, people that are covering it. I'm not on YouTube again. I hate to say YouTube, I mean, gosh, but nonetheless, YouTube is doing a pretty, well, that is YouTube, my apology, it is. Hang on, so let's take a peek and see what we got here. I'm looking, too, for some of these live cams because they're really, really fascinating to see. And also, too, to try to get a really good idea. Where are we at right here? Let's see here, EarthCam Live. That looks like, wow, don't know exactly. That's Naples. Okay, still in Naples. I tell you what, we'll keep that one for our Naples one, because that is the same one that we were just looking at there. That's channel 13. This one, they went to that one only mainly because I guess it's showing that type of surge there.
And there we go. There's the Matt Lachey Bridge. Is it possible?
Let's drop in here to channel 6.
Hi, good afternoon. Well, listen, I'll give you the good news first. You can obviously see that this hurricane is not what it once was. You can't tell where the eye is, at least not very easily. The hurricane is off of its peak. And, if you want to extend that a little bit further, this is the terminal, the initial stage of the terminal condition of this hurricane, because it is impacted now by that wind shear that had been forecast to start impinging upon the system. So, off of its peak of 180 miles per hour, we're down to a hurricane that has winds sustained at 130 miles per hour. So 50 miles per hour less in intensity. But now here comes some of the bad news. The wind field has expanded. That was predicted too. As we had some of these, things like jet streams starting to impact the hurricane, there would be some meteorological transformation. that as the system goes from purely tropical to a hybrid to eventually a mid-latitude kind of low-pressure system, the wind field, instead of concentrating
That's one thing you want to keep in mind too, though. Even though it is slowed down from 180 miles an hour to 130 miles an hour because of that wind shear, that cool front basically that we're experiencing here in Tennessee with 40-degree mornings right now has really helped to weaken the storm some. But it's already so close to land now, it's not going to really change much when it comes to the water surge. It'd be really hard for it to slow that surge down now that that momentum is already moving. Look at NASA taking a peek at this thing now. Even the space station going over the top there, you can see though that it's not, like they say, the eye wall is starting to collapse on this storm, which the good news is it will break up faster if actually that's exactly what happens in result to that.
Mass evacuations have snarled traffic and emptied many gas stations, but now the Weather Service says the time to evacuate is over. It is time to shelter in place, stay indoors, unless a life-threatening situation arises. Bridges across the entire region are being shut down, including the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, which connects Pinellas County to Manatee County. I want to show another view that illustrates the dangers of this storm. This is a security camera outside a house in Fort Myers, Florida. It picked up the violent winds of an apparent tornado this afternoon. Let's go straight to our meteorologist, Elisa Rafa, in CNN's Hurricane Headquarters. Elisa, where is Milton right now? Just how widespread is the impact, including these tornado warnings?
Yeah, I mean, Jake, it's still sitting 100 miles.
Tornadoes, I will say this, the tornadoes have just been massive. There's been a couple of independent media people that have been really monitoring the tornado side of this hurricane. And they have done a very good job of that.
Emergency. Oh, I was gonna show them. It's got an emergency alert, a shelter-in-place emergency alert, Chad. That's crazy. I mean, that's a good time. It's a good time to send out the alert. The eye wall's about to come on shore.
I mean it.
Mass
evacuations have snarled traffic and emptied many gas stations, but now the Weather Service says the time to evacuate.
What's the latest going on right now, pal?
Well, we have a lot going on, Bob. First of all, this is very, very unusual to have this number of very strong tornadoes from a tropical hurricane in Florida. We get them when they move farther north, but what's happened is northern weather has come farther south, and we have this very unusual combination of a front across North Florida and a hurricane coming up and upper-level jet stream moving through all of this, and that's overpowering the tornadoes, or hyper-powering the tornado situation. And I have some news on the track. Hang on for that. But first of all, the 4 o'clock update, 125 miles per hour is the estimate from the hurricane hunters.
See, the thing that is concerning, though, is even though it turned east, it went north there. Let's see what we get on that track, what they're showing.
950 millibars, so the pressure is coming up slowly. Still, that's a very low pressure, and the winds are coming down, but they're spreading out, and we actually see this in the measurements from the hurricane hunters. All right, here is my kind of big news, I think. Look at where the center of the system was forecast to be on the 11 o'clock advisory, and look where it is actually, to the left and farther north. So what that's telling us, the storm is moving faster than forecast and a little left of track. If you've been following through the day here today, since this morning, I've been talking.
This Fox channel is a little bit behind the 8 ball, we'd say there. They've not quite got it right there. Let's go to this
Seen
live
some
one.
damage, if not a direct hit from this tornado,
This
which
is
again was a huge
channel here, and so I do want to say Max Velocity, Severe Weather Center. This guy's doing an amazing job on sharing about tornadoes. that are going on.
And if we still have a tornado, it is going to be right over
I
716.
want to just share
So if
his
there's a
channel
tornado
with you.
in
Max
progress, let me get some
Velocity,
call-outs
Severe
on
Weather
this. It looks like we
Center.
may still have a tornado on the
It's got a little
ground
over
right
500,000
over
subscribers. Guys, certainly
just that southeast side here, Port St. Lucie. Let me give you some
see
call-outs here.
why.
Give
He's
me
got
one
some
second.
great information.
If this is on the
especially if you're
ground,
wondering
it
about
could be hitting
tornadoes.
the Saints at the Port St. Lucie golf course. It's going towards a Planet Fitness. If this is on the ground still, which we have at least some level of a debris signature. Walmart Supercenter on the east side of Port St. Lucie. HCA Florida St. Lucie Hospital may be in the track of this if it's on the ground. Urban Air Trampoline and Adventure Park would also be in the track of this. So possible tornado moving north.
Port St. Lucie. I had a sister who lived in Port St. Lucie years and years ago. Look at that! Look at that water there, right there, and that's on Port Charlotte, Florida.
Email it to me.
But this guy right here, he does, like I said, he does a really great job covering all the tornadoes and stuff. I'm sure he's going to do an amazing job as the eye wall comes on shore as well. So if you want to take and save this guy in, subscribe to him. As a matter of fact, I ought to subscribe to the guy there. Max Velocity, really, really great job in what he does there. Let's see here. We'll go back down to no volume on Max. I'll keep him up there so we can jump back in there with him. Let's see where Channel 8 is at now on this.
Sooner than Tampa and St. Petersburg.
Next up, we've got what is this? Cindy says Sarasota County Flatbush Avenue, because the county failed to clean the ditches in the back and along the side of the house. This is how water sits so far without the storm. He's proving a point. That's what the point of Cindy's video is, that the water is so deep that he can cast a fishing line. The President of the United States is speaking. Let's listen in here live on Tracking the Tropics.
No, I want to reiterate a point I made clear earlier today to the folks who have been impacted by Helene. This impact, and will be now impacted by Milton. Over the last few weeks, there's been a reckless and irresponsible and relentless promotion of disinformation and outright lies about what's going on. It's undermining confidence in the people of Florida and incredible rescue and recovery work that has been undertaken. Literally, there are thousands of fellow.
Let me help speak for the president here. Okay, American people, I'm sorry. We are sending all of our money over to Ukraine and over to Israel right now. You'll get over it. Don't worry about it. Regardless, when you go through the hurricane, just look to your neighbors and your friends to help you out. I'm sure they'll be there for you at a time of catastrophe. But as far as the United States government, we will continue to supply all the bombs that Israel needs in order to be able to wipe out Gaza and Lebanon and possibly Iran in the not so distant future. So have no fear. Everything is right on track. Thank you.
What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true. Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's got to stop. Let me close with this. As difficult as these days and weeks have been, we've seen incredible courage by so many of our fellow Americans. I want to thank all the first responders for running toward danger instead of away from it, for saving lives.
That's about the only thing that is good there. He's saying first responders, they are doing an amazing job, and God bless the first responders and what they are doing themselves there. Let's go off of this one here, back off of Hurricane Camille, and let's come back to Hurricane Milton. In fact, my dad lived in Milton when Ivan came on shore, and the water, and he had the highest land where his house was built because, of course, owning a landmine, he was able to put a lot of dirt there, and the water still came up all the way up to his top of the kitchen cabinets in the house there. He had his chainsaw ready to cut through the roof and go out on the roof next if that's what it was going to take. So pretty doggone crazy to say the very least there. All right, let's see what we got.
People impacted by these storms will receive
President.
$750 in cash and no more. That is simply not true either. They're saying that money needed for these crises are being diverted to migrants. What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true. Now the claims are...
But it is true, though, that we're diverting the money for more bombs and for more ammunition and everything because Israel's running short. And we're going to help them. You know, it's really preposterous. Genocide is what it is in the Middle East.
Look all of these days and weeks have been. We've seen incredible courage by so many of our fellow Americans. I want to thank all the first responders for running toward danger instead of away from it.
Another good news, as we see here, the wind speed now has dropped to 120 miles per hour, and the wind gusts are at 150 miles per hour. So that is good news there. I'm glad to see that we have dropped to that.
I want to thank all the first responders.
So, hour, and the wind gusts are at 150 miles per hour. So that is good news there. I'm glad to see that we have dropped to that. Well, I should have let you guys listen to Biden there. Sitting there checking to make sure we were still on.
Fellow Americans looking out for one another. That's America at its very best. That's who we are. So my final message tonight is to the people of Florida and all the impacted states. We've got your back. We've got your back. And Kamala and I will be there for as long as it takes to rescue, recover, and rebuild. May God bless you all, and may God protect those serving in the eye of this storm on behalf of our nation. Thank you.
Why do you think Trump is spreading misinformation? Why do you think former President Trump is spreading misinformation?
I think they are scaring the President of the United States. Too many people talking at one time. You just can't do that to an old guy. Really, come on, seriously, you can't. Give the guy a break. He needs time to recuperate from what he just said there. So, anyway, let's see where we're at now. Wobble alert.
Around Cortez, also around Cortez, also around as you work your way down towards Whitney Beach on Longboat Key.
Right.
Those are the areas
Here's
of
what
concern.
we'll do, guys. We'll just drop the broadcast for right now. This weather cam, though, showing Naples, that water just being dragged north is just really amazing. But I will come back in here a little later here this evening as this eye wall gets closer. I think they said it's about 100 miles offshore, probably about 80 miles offshore by now. So I would imagine we're still looking at landfall 4 or 5 hours from now, depending on how fast it's moving. Most hurricanes only move about 10, 12 miles an hour. You know, unless it really picked up speed, which I don't see it doing that, it may still be a while yet before landfall. I'm Steve Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Thank you for tuning in. And definitely, if you live in this area here, be in as safe a place as you possibly can get. You know, and like they said, you can't really move now as it is. So get as safe as you can. Stephen Benoon here with Israeli News Live.